We've got a lot of things to talk about on the show today, but we continue to take a look at the campaigns for 2016. And joining me in studio is Dr. Donald May, running for Congress in District 19. Welcome back to the show.
Chad, good morning. It's always a pleasure to be here with you, sir, on this bright, beautiful January morning.
Absolutely. I appreciate you coming in today. Tell folks why you decided to run for Congress, and this is this is another shot for you running for Congress. And why did you decide this time? I want to do this again. I want to run in this election one more time.
Well, I decided to run because I wanted to challenge the incumbent, and the incumbent is not going to run it this time. But Chad, Washington's broken. The problems created up there are not created just by the Democrats. The problems are created by the Republicans. I place most of the blame on the Republicans, Republican cowardice, inability to stand up to the Democrats, bowing down to the Democrats, and allowing things to happen that should not happen. Case in point is we're watching what Obama is doing at this time, and the Republicans are virtually doing nothing. They gave him an omnibus spending bill. They've given him what he wants, and we need a few more people up there. We need several more people up there with a significant amount of courage. We're seeing that in some of the top runners in the presidential race at this time, and we need people in Congress who will stand up, particularly from West Texas. We need West Texas values up there. We need someone up there from West Texas who has the courage to stand on the floor of that House every day, to get in front of the television cameras, to educate the people in Congress. Here's the problems. Here's the simple solutions. And to come back home and educate the people so the people know what they need to push for to get Washington fixed.
Well, let me ask you this. If elected, let's say you're in Congress.
Yes, sir.
What would you do differently than what? Now, you said you wanted to run against Congressman Nagelbauer, and he's not running. But what would you do differently than Nagelbauer?
Well, I'm a conservative. In the race, there's a rumor out there that we're all alike, and that's extremely not true, and I hope we get into that, because I'm the only person out there with a conservative record of accomplishment, and I'm the only person out there with a conservative record of political accomplishment. And basically what we have up there is people who are voting. Anybody can vote conservative up there. They can simply get the morning report from the Heritage Foundation and know how to vote. The difference, Chad, is addressing the issues, writing bills, having the ability to write small bills to incrementally take apart the problems that Washington has created. The weakened economy, our weakened military, our open border, which has not been addressed through several administrations. These are problems that are easy to fix. They can be done incrementally. We don't need 2,000-page bills to fix these. We can do these with 10-page bills. I don't think a bill should go to the president's desk if it has more words in it than the Constitution of the United States.
You say that the other people who are running, are you saying none of them are conservative?
I didn't say that they weren't conservative. I said that we're not alike. I said that I stand apart significantly from the other people. Conservative record. Over the past 10 years, Chad, you're aware I've written over 3,000 political commentaries. This includes Town Hall. This includes State Policy Network. This includes Avalanche Journal, other publications. I've written a column here in Lubbock, Mr. Conservative. Terry Greenberg, who was editor, gave me that title. Barry Goldwater Jr. affirmed that title after his dad passed away. I'm rather proud of that. I've done more than 50 debates with Arnold Lowy and others on constitutional issues. The Avalanche Journal asked me to be the conservative to do those debates. They didn't ask any of the other candidates. As far as political activities, you're well aware that none of these candidates have showed up at any of the Lubbock county executive meetings until they started to run. You're well aware that maybe one or two of them has been a delegate at times to the Lubbock County Republican Convention. My wife and I have been delegates for the past 6 times. I'm the only one that I'm aware of that's ever been a delegate to the state convention, the Republican State Convention, and I'm the only one that's ever been a delegate to the national convention. The people of the 19th District elected me in 2008 and in 2012 to represent them as their lead delegate at the Republican National Convention in St. Paul in 2008 and in Tampa in 2012.
Let me ask you this, because it's something I'm going to ask all the candidates.
Absolutely.
And it's about leadership. A lot of people are looking for leadership in Washington, D.C. They want the next person elected in this area, I think, to be a strong leader in Washington, D.C.
Absolutely. That's what we need, Chad.
So what – and you mentioned a lot of things there. Would you say that those are your leadership credentials put up against some of the other leadership credentials that the others
Those
have?
are just simply my accomplishments. So those are not necessarily my leadership credentials.
Okay, what would you say your leadership
credentials? Let's go into healthcare. We have Obamacare. I'm the only one with experience in healthcare management. I helped start, and I was a full professor in health organization management program, giving MBAs at Texas Tech. I taught in that program for 12 years. There were three of us who were surgeons who were part of that program. Each of us was full professors. I served on the Physician Advisory Committee, 7 of us, MDs for PhRMA, national organization. I was not reappointed when we got into the Obama era, because I didn't fit the liberal criteria. I'm the only person with experience with federal welfare plans. I've dealt with welfare patients in healthcare for over 3 decades. I've worked in charity hospitals. I was chairman of ophthalmology at the Charity Hospital of New Orleans, one of the 2 largest charity hospitals in the United States of America. I came here as chairman of ophthalmology. I was associate dean here. As I said, I helped start the MBA program here. I've got a background in research. I'm the only person who's ever had research grants, NIH grants. My second year here at Texas Tech, 1990, 1991, my department had 60% of all the grants in the Health Sciences Center, not the medical school, the Health Sciences Center. We were the first department to have collaborative efforts and to have professors in the HSC and in the university. 2 of my professors were the Department of Chemistry in the university, two here. I'm the only person with experience treating veterans. For over 30 years, I've been an attending surgeon, visiting attending surgeon, consulting surgeon at VA hospitals, trained in 3 VA hospitals in Chicago, and I've worked in 6 VA hospitals subsequently, the last of which being the VA hospital down in Big Spring. I'm the only one with teaching and academician credentials who's ever taught. I'm the only one who's a real farmer. My family's been farming grain in Illinois for 6 generations. We've been working with federal programs since the 1930s. We understand the problems. My wife's family's been farming on the West Coast since the 1880s, again, dealing with the government, understanding the problems. I'm the only one who's ever debated constitutional law or has a background in constitutional law, who understands the Constitution, the Federalist Papers, the Anti-Federalist Papers, and has ability to spontaneously get up and talk on any topic. You've known me for a long time, Chad. You know that no matter what topic you can bring up, I can address it. I surround myself with lots of people who are smarter than I am. So if I need help, I can get it readily, but at least I know how to address the issues. I don't have to go to my iPad to figure out what to say next.
Visiting with Dr. Donald May, running for Congress. Let's take the break. When we come back, we'll have one more segment with Dr. Donald May in studio. Back on the Chad Hasty Show, News Talk 790 KFYO. Visiting with Dr. Donald May in studio, running for Congress in District 19. If you have a question, feel free to send those in via email, chad@kfyo.com. We may try to get to a caller's question if we have time, but best way to send those in would be chad@kfyo.com. Let's get to some of the ongoing issues and issues that I think will probably present itself going into the future. Obviously, Washington has a spending problem. At least most people in this area would probably agree that Washington has a spending problem. Where do you take a stand as far as saying, no, I'm not going to vote on this bill because it has too much spending, even if it risks shutting down the government? Now, of course, we all know that the president would shut down the government, but the media would blame Republicans.
Right. And every time the government's been shut down historically, or there's been a threat of the government being shut down, Chad, the Republicans have done extremely well. The news media has spun it, and they've scared the Republicans. The Republicans do well every time it shuts down. So we have to look at, Chad, why are the Republicans and the Democrats afraid of shutting down the government? Well, it really doesn't shut down the government, as you and I know. Laws passed during the Reagan administration, 1984, mandated that the military would be paid. that Social Security checks would come out, that Medicare checks would come out, that all essential services would be taken care of. Airplanes are not going to be grounded. The air traffic controllers are going to be in place. The only thing that happens is about 1/3 of the employees who are considered non-essential quit working.
Right.
What's going to happen when that takes place? The American people are going to discover within about 1 to 2 weeks that the country's working a lot better, that they're getting a lot more done, and that the government is working perfectly fine, and we don't need those 1/3 of the people who are non-essential employees.
So when do you draw the line as far as voting yes for a bill, voting against a bill?
Well, that's going to depend on the bill. That's a little bit of a broad question, but the job of our government, Chad, is to protect the American people. It's to protect the American people from our enemies, foreign, whether it be North Korea, Iran, China, Russia, the ISIS. That's the job of the government, to protect us from those people, including securing our border. As long as we do not have a secure border, we need a secure border, Chad, where we know who's coming in, who's going out, what's coming in, what's going out. That is the mark of a civilization. We know what's coming in and what's going out. And we have a handle on who is here and what they are up to. That's the number one thing for our government, is protecting the people. The Declaration of Independence, our founding document, says, number one, there's a God. Number two, God gives us unalienable rights. Number three, God's laws are unchanging. And number four, the sole purpose of our government is to protect those rights. And they'll only do it with the consent of the people. And hence, the Constitution, which laid out the plan of our government, starts with we the people. So the government has gotten itself into places where it does not belong. It does not belong in health care. It does not belong in health care finance or insurance. Health care insurance, health care management should be handled by the individual states. Welfare should be handled by the individual states. Someone who is poor here in Lubbock, who knows best how to take care of that poor person in Lubbock? The people in Lubbock, the people in Lubbock County. So we need to get them out of the health care, the education, and out of welfare. And that cuts a huge amount of our budget, brings it back to the states, and the costs will come dramatically down because we do not have the federal government holding a sledgehammer over the state saying, look, you've got to do this for Medicare, Medicaid, you've got to do that. Chad, I'm sorry, I talked too long on that.
Let me ask you about an action that happened just recently, last night. There was a Iraqi refugee who was taken into custody last night down in Houston. I believe another refugee that was taken into custody in Sacramento.
Sacramento, yes.
Yesterday as well. These are refugees in our country. We've heard about what's going on in Germany with the alleged refugee attacks there. And Donald Trump's the one who's proposed this idea. And I've heard your commercials. You call yourself Donald. So I'm going to draw a connection here, okay? Do you think that we should end all Muslim immigration into the United States until we get a better handle on the refugee situation?
Here's the situation, Chad. We need to know who's coming in and out of this country, as I said. That includes any group of people, whether it be Muslim or otherwise. We have a problem right now with Islamic terrorism. We have a problem with ISIS. ISIS should have been stopped 3 or 4 years ago by Obama. It wasn't. It's growing as predicted, and people are coming in and out of this country. If we need to better screen the people coming in this country, Muslims or otherwise, if we need to put a temporary halt, then we need to do that. And this is not something new. The law was passed in 1952 under a Democratic president, under a full Democratic Congress, that said the president has full abilities at any time to stop any group of people coming in this country if there's problems. It was done back then by Truman because we had a lot of people coming in from Europe. We had a lot of people coming in from Asia who were problematic, and we needed to stop that. We go up to the Iranian crisis where they took over our embassy. What did Jimmy Carter do? He stopped all Iranians from coming in and out of the country. He essentially deported every Iranian in the country until that situation was taken care of. Do we need to do that at this time? I don't have enough national security information that I can make that decision. That is a decision that needs to be made at the presidential level. I wish we had a different president up there. I wish we had Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio or Donald Trump or somebody up there who has some guts to take care of that. But I think what we need to do at this time, rather than bringing all these refugees in, We need to set up refugee camps over there in Turkey, Iraq, and other places where these people are housed. They have showers, they have food, they have beds, and they're housed there until the stability can be achieved back in their country, and they can go back and populate their country. Not escaping over, not migrating over to Europe, not migrating to the United States. House them in place outside the war zone over there. Give them significant protection. Put Bradleys and 50 millimeter machine guns around the camp, pointing outward to protect them from ISIS. And I think that will best solve the problem. Is with this migration problem, keep these people in place until we can stabilize the situation over there.
We're visiting with Dr. Donald May, running for Congress. And Dr. May, as you know, when people are looking at the candidates running for Congress, they're going to look at everything.
Absolutely.
About the candidates.
Absolutely.
You have been in the news for a lot of different areas, and I think you know where I'm going.
I've been busy. I've been busy, and I don't hesitate to take on issues.
Well, let me ask you about because this is something that a question I get from a lot of people who hear about your campaign. And I think it was a few months ago that this news came out, that you're in an ongoing legal, let's call it, situation.
I've sued somebody for slander.
Well,
I've sued somebody for slander because they said untrue things about me, and I do not. I tolerate most things.
Where does that stand at this point?
Well, we are in court right now. We're trying to get evidence. What happened was back in 2012. When we had the Republican National Convention, a young college student wanted to take my place as a lead delegate. Apparently, she and others spread rumors about me prior to that vote. I was not aware of that. I won that vote. That person ended up going as my alternate. Apparently, the rumors continued after that time. Apparently, that person was very angry because they didn't go as a lead delegate. And apparently, those rumors continued. We found out about those last year, about March. We investigated it. I went to colleagues at the law school. They recommended an attorney for me to get. And we tried to get information on this. And we had no alternative, but I've taken legal action to sue for slander. We're in the courts right now, still trying to get documentation. She and her lawyer are very fearful. They don't want the documentation to come out, what happened. They don't want the records to come out. My advice to you and anybody who's interested is go to the court. Her attorney has submitted a document, which is an email between my attorney and her attorney, and I think it pretty much lays out what we're looking at.
So for voters out there,
go get the document from the court and have a look at it. Chad, I'm going to ask you personally to do that.
For voters out there who are looking for family values, for all that, and they hear of accusations, you're saying they have nothing to worry about.
I'm saying that I'm doing what I need to do to defend myself. When our founding fathers signed the Declaration of Independence, they pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor, and I've done that. You and I know that when people run for office, they get attacked. That's why we do not have a lot of good people running for office. I am not one to use the court system, but when I have to, I will use it. Somebody comes after me or my family with false accusations, I'm going to stand up. Republicans need to do that. We've got a problem with a lack of Republican courage. You know me well enough, Chad. I do not lack courage. Now, whether it comes to a situation like this where I'm under political attack, and again, we don't know who all the parties are. There's a lot of rumors of who the parties are, who's paying the bills, what's going on. We will find that out in depositions. But again, I'm standing up to this. You want somebody up there in Washington who's going to stand up to Obama. If I can't stand up to slander here, how do you expect me to go to Washington and stand up to people like Obama?
Dr. Donald May, we'll have you back soon in studio.
God bless.
Appreciate you coming by today.